Good evening and welcome to the February 13th meeting of the Falmouth Zoning Board of Appeals. We'll be calling the meeting to order and also ask everyone to please silence their cell phones at this time. I'll introduce the board. Starting on my far right, your far left, is James Morse, who is an associate member of the board. To my immediate right is Ken Foreman, who is our vice chairman. My name is TJ Hurry. I'm the chair of the board. To my left is Ed Van Kuren, who is a full voting member, followed by Bob Dugan, who is the board's clerk, and Mary Barry, who is an associate member. Also with us tonight is Noreen Stockman, who is our zoning administrator, and Ashley DeMello, who is our recording secretary for the night. The Zoning Board of Appeals is charged with applying the zoning bylaws for the town and considers requests on special permits, variances, and appeals as provided in the bylaws which have been approved by town meeting and the Attorney General's office for the Commonwealth. All decisions the board makes are made through the public hearing process. The board's goal is to hear testimony from the applicants and the public, and also to allow a full and fair discussion of the project prior to rendering a decision. To begin each hearing, the clerk will read the public announcement of the hearing and then present any pertinent information from the files, such as referrals from town departments and summarizing correspondences to the board. The applicant or the applicant's representative will then have 15 minutes to make a presentation, and time may be extended by vote of the board. The board will then question the applicant, and the public will be invited to comment as well. Public comment should only be directed at the project, and we also ask you to please refrain from making any personal or derogatory statements. Public comment can include an opinion in favor or in opposition, or it just might simply be a question about the nature of the project. The chair will limit discussion in the interest of time in the event that comments become repetitive. The board will then either close or continue a hearing when the board is satisfied that enough information has been presented by testimony and in file to make a decision by motion and vote of the board. The hearing will be closed. In the alternative, we may continue the hearing to a future date and time. After the hearing is closed, no more testimony may be taken. And as for board discussion and decision, the board may then further discuss the project among ourselves, and a motion to deny or approve will be made and voted upon. The motion will include a summary of key findings and conditions. A affirmative vote of 4 members, which is a supermajority, is required for approvals of motions on special permits, variances, and appeals. A split vote, such as a 3-2 vote, is a failure to carry and would result in denial of the project. Under Massachusetts general law, if a special permit is denied, the applicant cannot return to the board for 2 years unless the project is substantially different. So turning to our agenda for tonight, we have public comment. We don't actually have any continuations or new hearings, but we do have items on our open meeting agenda. So as for public comment, this is a period of time for anyone to give comment, anything that's not on the agenda tonight. So is anyone out there with anything? Sir?
Timothy Smith, 175 Deer Pond Road. I just wanted to thank Noreen and Ash for their tolerance and patience as we have come up to their office and have looked at files and have asked many questions. I've interrupted Noreen several times during lunch, and you know, I appreciate the fact that she's been as helpful. My only comment is that just going forward, you know, I know there's many other 40Bs that are being proposed throughout the town, and I know that in some instances, throughout the last several months, I've heard, you know, mixed and varied opinions from everybody on the board, and I understand there's some frustration by many of you that with regards to how the state you know, law pertains to 40Bs, and I would just hope that a lot of the comments that have been made you know, by many of the citizens, and including myself, that eventually that maybe, you know, the board and the town administration can work together, especially through the housing production plan, and try and help the citizens that are impacted by this a little more, and that maybe eventually, you know, there can be a little more you know, rounded out, you know, work, you know, with regards to 40Bs, so that the citizens can come up and hopefully not be as impacted as some of us has felt. A lot of it hasn't been all negative. I appreciate, some of the work that, we've been done with the consultant on our particular project on Crooked Meadow, but obviously, it's, something that was near and dear to many of our hearts, when this came about. So just, again, wanted to, extend my thanks to Noreen and Ash, and, I just, look forward to, having other people have a positive, working relationship with the ZBA. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for your comments. And we always like to hear when Noreen and Ashley are doing a great job, which we always know that they do. All right, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to our open meeting items. We have voting the minutes for January 23rd, 2020.
We're going to table that.
Tabled. Very good. Up next, we have reviewing the draft decision with vote for 58-19 DeSang Road, 26, 30, 36, and 40 Crooked Meadow Road in Hatchville. So the hearing is closed, no more testimony is taken. What the board's doing is reviewing our decision with a possible vote, and we'll go from there.
So let me just say that I think I missed one meeting on this, and I'm happy to step down and have the other board members who are here.
Okay. I'll just defer to Noreen and Ashley if,
So James has been present for all the hearings, so if you just want to assign him
okay,
as
so that would be,
voting
sorry,
member?
I'm just doing math, so that would be 4 and,
Hopefully you were
has Mary's been here?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So if any potential vote, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so currently the voting members are Terrence Hurry, Ken Foreman, Ed Van Kuren, Robert Dugan, and Mary Barry. So if Ken steps out, then James would just fill his position.
Very good, so we'll be appointing James for the vote. And where we left off last meeting, I know that we were making some revisions to various conditions and a few of the findings as well. Has everyone had a chance to review it?
Yes.
And any last minute changes? Mary?
Yeah, I have one, and I'm sorry about it, because I was the one that asked for 4 in the findings to be changed to what it currently is here.
Mhm.
And I think that I'd like to propose a little different language than what's in number 4.
Okay, so this is condition 4?
Yeah.
Findings.
Findings for,
Findings 4, not
Page 5.
conditions, I'm sorry.
so page 5.
Findings
Page
on
5.
page
Number 4. And I'll just read it. I wish I had copies for y'all. The Town of Falmouth, Massachusetts Housing Production Plan Report dated December 2018 identifies the need for affordable housing units, including rental, homeownership, and barrier-free. Table 5-31, Summary of Priority Housing Needs and Targeted Development Goals on page 79 identifies a 5-year goal of 370 total units. The 370 total unit goal includes 140 one-bedroom, 171 two-bedroom, 59 3-plus bedroom, broken down by rental versus ownership units. The HPP has a 5-year goal of 56 units for home ownership. The total of 56 affordable home ownership goals include 14 one-bedroom, 14 two-bedroom, and 28 3-plus bedrooms. Rental units have a 314-unit 5-year goal with 126 one-bedroom, 157 two-bedroom, and 31 three-bedroom. Special needs represent at least 23 or 10% of all 2- and 3-bedroom affordable units created, and 28 or 20% of 1-bedroom affordable units created. And my reason for saying all of that is I think that that's something that the public should understand, because it helps, and we should put it in here, because that's what our goal is as a municipality.
It's also a more specific citation to the housing production plan. Absolutely. How's everyone feel about that?
I'm fine with that.
Fine with it? No problem.
All right, so if you can
I can
give me
send it
that, I
to,
can
forward it to you.
put that in. And the other thing I think we can do is take that boiled down language and put it on the town's website or on the zoning board website so it's more immediately accessible to people instead of suggesting they go read the full housing production plan.
I agree, at almost 200 pages, it's pretty hard
It's
to
more
go
than-
through.
Right.
Any other modifications to make it all?
No, I just had a quick question on the, it's just an address situation. So where the owner's listed and he's getting the mail at a business address, is that from the actual application, or do we actually need the owner's address as from the deed?
No, I mean, they're entitled to, have a representative and use that address.
I'm fine as long as it's part of the application.
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
On number 36,
Would that be conditions?
conditions, yes, thank you. Last meeting, I remember I expressed some concern about the condominium, specifically stating where it says number 4, condominium documents. I'd rather see that read master deed and rules. In addition, condominium documents including the master deed and rules for the condominium association.
I agree with you on that. How's everyone else feel?
Yeah, that's good, it's more descriptive.
Any other modifications?
Yeah, one on item 13, where it says, in the third line down, it says, the affordable units may not be rented. It should be shall not be rented, right? Not to be a nitpicker, but
That's right.
may,
13 of the conditions?
Findings, I
Page
think it
11.
is.
third line down,
Page 11, oh, sorry,
yeah,
Yeah.
So just made a shell.
made a shall.
okay. So maybe where you're into conditions, you need to vote each condition
Individually.
anyway, so it might be served to have Bob read those, and then you can,
So is everyone all set at least with the findings, or any other modifications to make to the findings? 'Cause
No.
we'll go to the conditions and
Right.
we'll vote each separate
I think the
condition.
findings are fine.
Yeah, findings are good, yeah.
All right, so we'll start the conditions. So, condition number 1, where this comprehensive permit is made specifically under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40B, Section 20 to 23, allowing the override of local zoning and density. There shall be no as-of-right changes made to the subject property. Any changes requested shall be properly submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals as provided for under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40B.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None?
2, the construction shall be shown, the construction shall be as shown on the plan submitted and reviewed by the board, except for minor changes as follows. Drainage worksheet 1 of 1 for lots 137 to 141 Crooked Meadow Road, prepared for John DeSanger in Falmouth, as drawn by Falmouth Engineering, Inc., 17 Academy Lane, Suite 200, Falmouth, Mass. 02540. Plan is dated August 12th, 2019, with a final revision date of September 24, 2019. Plan is stamped and signed by Michael J. Borzelli, P.E. Site plan sheet 1 of 3 for lots 137 to 141 Crooked Meadow Road, prepared for John DeSanger in Falmouth, as drawn by Falmouth Engineering, Inc., 17 Academy Lane, Suite 200, Falmouth, Mass. 02540. Plan is dated August 12, 2019, with the final revision date of December 3rd, 2019. Plan is stamped and signed by Gary S. LeBray, PLS 92619. Septic details, sheet 2 of 3 for lots 137 to 141 Crooked Meadow Road, prepared for John DeSanger in Falmouth, as drawn by Falmouth Engineering, Inc., 17 Academy Lane, Suite 200, Falmouth, Mass. 02540. Plan is dated August 12, 2019. Plan is stamped and signed by Michael J. Borzelli, P.E. Standard details and leaching field field detail, sheet 3 of 3 for lots 137 and 141 Crooked Meadow Road, prepared for John DeSanger in Falmouth, as drawn by Falmouth Engineering, Inc., 17 Academy Lane, Suite 200, Falmouth, Mass. 02540. Plan is dated August 12, 2019, with a final revision date of September 24, 2019. Plan is stamped and signed by Michael J. Borzelli, P.E. Conceptual landscape plan, sheet L1 for Crooked Meadow Road, Falmouth, Mass., as drawn by Hawk Design, Inc., landscaped architect, landscape planning, Sagamore, Mass. Plan is dated August 16, 2019. Plan is stamped and signed by Thomas E. Minor, RLA, 11/14/19. Elevation rendering, sheet A1 of 4. Floor plan layout, sheet A2 of 4. Foundation plan, sheet A3 of 4. And framing, nailing schedule. Crockett Meadows, Falmouth, plans not titled, all plans drawn by Bruce Devlin, dated March of 2019. Section A, horizontal and vertical, is drawn by Hawk Design, Inc., with a plan date of 1/2/20. That's all for that section.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
If the developer chooses to join Sandpoint Shores Association, the developer shall be responsible for the previous 3 years' arrears payments for membership to the Sandpoint Shores Association as an amenity to the homeowners. If the HOA chooses to join at a future date, the affordable units would only be responsible for the annual dues. The arrears payment shall not be assessed to the affordable units. Thereafter, the homeowners association shall contribute the $150 per unit per year membership fee to Sandpoint Shores Association, which grants access to 2 private beaches on Jenkins Pond, a tennis court, off-street parking, and green space. The condominium document shall delineate management of future HOA votes or changes in membership fees related to Sandpoint Shores.
And everyone's fine with that language?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
4, at the applicant's expense, an inspection engineer will be designated for this project from the firms that have been pre-vetted by the town. The inspection engineer will perform or oversee inspections, testing, material approval, reports, or other construction-related services required, and report directly to the town. The applicant shall establish a 53G account through the building department for the inspection engineer. The inspection engineer will be specifically responsible for ensuring adherence to the requirements in soil erosion and sediment control standard conditions, inspection and approval of the driveway subgrade, gravel base, binder course, and curbing and finish course. At no point shall the contractor construct on a driveway surface that was not inspected and approved by the inspection engineer. The inspection engineer will be specifically responsible to review the as-built plans for compliance with the approved plans.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
5, the 22-foot wide driveway will be designed and installed with appropriate drainage measures as shown on the approved plans. The 2 curb cuts shall require a street opening driveway permit, for which the applicant will apply for with the DPW Engineering Division. The application and refundable bond related to the permit in the amount of $24,000 shall be filed prior to the engineering sign-off on any building permit for the premises. The applicant shall meet town standards and the permit requirements, and the bond may be released to the original payer upon work completion to the satisfaction of engineering. The contractor shall contact engineering in writing a minimum of 24 hours before work is begun and when work is ready for inspection. The following inspections shall be required. A, bottom of excavation for the 4 catch basins and 2 leaching pit beds prior to installation. B, after the 2 leaching pit beds are installed and backfilled to the top of the stone. C, when the driveway base over the leaching pit beds and catch basin areas is fine graded and is ready for binder course. D, when the binder course has been laid over the leaching pit beds and catch basin areas. E, when the top course has been laid over the leaching pit beds and catch basin areas. F, when the final grading, loaming, and seeding has been completed adjacent to the leaching pit bed and catch basin areas. Failure to complete the work as shown on the plans or to miss any inspections shall be grounds for forfeiture of the refundable bond in part or in whole. The driveway shall not be considered for acceptance by the town and shall remain private and be maintained by the property owners of the premises in perpetuity. The DPW Engineering Division will be the inspecting agent for the above items. However, the right is reserved to consult and coordinate with the applicant's designated inspection engineer.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
6, the water line construction shall be in accordance with the town's water department. Water department fees and requirements shall be the responsibility of the developer. Prior to the issuance of the building permits, the applicant shall conduct a hydrant flow test to determine available flow and pressure to fight a fire, and provide the results to the water superintendent and fire chief. The procedure for flushing, disinfecting, and pressure testing of the water main shall be approved by the town's water superintendent.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
7, the maximum height of the single-story dwelling shall be 21 feet.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
8, construction hours shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday. Saturday hours shall be limited to 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. No Sunday or holiday hours absent of an emergency. All construction vehicles shall remain strictly on the subject property and not park on abutting streets. Construction vehicles are prohibited from idling on or near the premises outside of construction hours. During construction, efforts shall be undertaken to minimize impacts on abutters, including securing dumpsters, stabilizing soil to guard against erosion from a rain event, and ensuring that public roadways are kept clean.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
9, the applicant shall provide to the police, building department, engineering, and ZBA the name, phone number, and email address of a project contact individual for the duration of the construction process to ensure that any questions or concerns, including those of abutters and residents, are timely managed.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
10, the development shall be limited to a maximum of 6 duplex dwellings, 12 total units, with a maximum of 34 bedrooms. Basement space may not be used as bedroom space, nor may den space be converted to bedroom space. The den space shall have a minimum 4-foot wide cased opening. 3 of the units shall remain in perpetuity, affordable to eligible purchasers whose annual income shall not exceed 80% of the area median income as determined by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. The 3 affordable dwellings shall be eligible for inclusion in the town's subsidized housing inventory, SHI, maintained by DHCD. Any increase in the number of bedrooms is a violation of the zoning bylaw and this comprehensive permit.
So the only change I would ask that we adopt is the second sentence, basement space may not be used. I'd ask that it be changed to basement space shall not be used. Everyone okay with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
How about on that may dense, nor may den space be converted?
Change it to shall.
Shall?
So ignore shall den space.
I'm sorry.
All right, so we'll re-vote on that with Mary's addition. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
11, the dwelling unit shall be handicapped visitable to include a first-floor bedroom and bathroom with a minimum 32-inch doorway width. The developer shall make units handicap accessible upon request of the buyer.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
12, there shall be no further division or subdivision of the premises or the creation of additional housing units or any other structures such as sheds without further approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals in the form of an amendment to this decision.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
13, the 3 affordable year-round, not seasonal family ownership units shall be included in the subsidized housing inventory, SHI, and shall be subject to a regulatory agreement, fair marketing, and income guidelines. The affordable units shall not be rented or sublet. Certificate of compliance with the affordable housing regulation shall be submitted after the sale to the Zoning Board of Appeals and Falmouth's affordable housing designee. This certification shall include documentation that each affordable ownership unit is occupied by a qualified owner as their primary residence. Home ownership association fees should be adjusted to be reduced for the affordable units. The affordable unit shall remain affordable in perpetuity, with a use restriction recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, copied to the Zoning Board of Appeals and Affordable Housing Designee, and shall survive sale. Any resale of an affordable unit shall be properly managed by an affordable housing specialist and reported in advance to the ZBA and the town's affordable housing designee, and include the fact that any future owner is subject to all terms and conditions listed herein and as provided in the condominium documents.
All right, and everyone's fine with that language?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
14, the condominium documents and rules and regulations of the master deed shall provide that only market rate units may be rented for a minimum 1-year period with no seasonal rentals.
Let's change
Chairman,
that
I
to
would-
shall. Second line.
So it'll read, the condominium documents and rules and regulations of the master deed shall provide that only market rate units shall be rented for a minimum of 1-year period with no seasonal rentals.
I would add,
Um,
or short,
Do you really want
I think
shall
that should
there?
stay
No.
may, because they
No.
may not.
It's an
Yeah.
option, right?
I would add the words or short-term, no seasonal or short-term rentals.
All right, so one more shot. So 14, the condominium documents and rules and regulations of the master deed shall provide that only market rate units may be rented for a minimum 1-year period with no seasonal or short-term rentals.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
15, the 3 affordable units shall be designated as 1A, 3A, and 6A. Addresses shall be properly posted as assigned by the engineering prior to final certificate of occupancy. 1 affordable unit must be completed per 3 market rate units. A certificate of occupancy for the final market rate unit may not be issued until all affordable units have been completed and granted a certificate of occupancy. All dwellings shall have the same exterior appearance and construction quality and be in conformance with the approved plans.
Should we make reference to the, like a site plan, what 1A, 3A, 6A? Shall be designated as 1A, 3A, and 6A
As shown on the plan.
As shown.
as shown on the plan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So what do you want a specific plan or just shown as on
It
site?
would be the site
It would be
plan.
the site plan would be appropriate, right, Noreen?
Alright, So I'll read this. So 15, so the 3 affordable units shall be designated 1A, 3A, and 6A as shown on site plan. Addresses shall be properly posted as assigned by engineering prior to the final certificate of occupancy. 1 affordable unit must be completed per 3 market rate units. A certificate of occupancy for the final market rate unit may not be issued until all affordable units have been completed and granted a certificate of occupancy. All dwellings shall have the same exterior appearance and construction quality and be in conformance with the approved plans.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
16, a certified plot plan stamped by a licensed surveyor shall be provided to the ZBA for review and approval prior to the application for a building permit. The plan shall show at a minimum the following: lot dimensions, driveway limits of pavement, limits of sidewalks, building locations, dimension building footprints, matching the architectural plan dimensions, closest distance to the nearest property line from each building, locations of drainage structures, included limits of infiltration areas, the landscaping and limits of work which shall also be demarcated in the field. The berm installed at Crooked Meadow Road shall not impede the established sightline visibility. This plan shall serve as the base for an as-built plan of the project upon completion. The designated inspection engineer shall review and approve that this plan includes the required information.
And everyone's okay with that language?
Yes, yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
17, a certified as-built plan shall be provided to the ZBA for review for conformance to the approved plans prior to certificate of occupancy. The plan shall be an overlay on the plan described in condition number 16. Any deviations from the approved plan shall be clearly shown in a red line over the base plan, which should be faced black for clarity. The as-built shall be certified by both a licensed surveyor and registered engineer that the work was performed in conformance with the approved plans and all permits. The designated inspection engineer shall review and approve this plan and confirm that this plan includes the required information and certifications. No certificate of occupancy shall be issued until the as-built plan is approved by the board.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
18, the town of Falmouth shall provide trash removal at one location per building at the end of the sidewalk adjacent to the driveway. All driveway maintenance and snow plowing shall be private in perpetuity.
So I think this might have clarified the issue with the truck essentially be pulling in through the development.
Yes,
So should that location be marked in any of the plans?
where each person will place their individual trash.
Well, it says one location per building, so is there any?
I think there's an understanding that for each building, and that, they'll pick a spot that they'll share.
Okay, so everyone's okay with that language?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
19, the applicant shall provide an ADA-compliant sidewalk along the perimeter of the activity lawn shared play area. The sidewalk shall have a ramp and tactile strips where the sidewalk intersects Crooked Meadow Road, and at the midpoint of the perimeter across from building number 3 and number 4. The remainder of the sidewalk shall have vertical, non-mountable curbing installed to protect the sidewalk and the play area.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
20, landscaping shall be installed as presented in accordance with the landscape plan, conceptual landscape plan, sheet L1 for Crooked Meadow Road, Falmouth, Mass., as drawn by Hawk Design, Inc., landscape architect, landscape planning, Sagamore, Mass. Plan is dated August 16, 2019. Plan is stamped and signed by Thomas E. Minor, RLA, 11/14/19, with all plant materials maintained in good health. Invasive vegetation shall be removed. Any material substantially diseased or dead shall be removed and replaced with similar-sized plants within 2 years of the final certificate of occupancy. Mature trees, particularly those proximate to the lot line, shall be maintained to the extent possible. Trees straddling the property line shall be assumed to be jointly owned and cannot be damaged or removed without prior written approval of both parties. The limit of work line shall be installed and inspected prior to site disturbance. At the expense of the applicant, a consulting arborist shall be retained to provide recommendations on protecting trees located within the demarcated limit of work, which may include adjusting the limit of work to protect the root systems of trees both on the premises and those with root systems onto the premises. A revised limit of work is necessary to reflect the arborist's suggestions. Trees to be protected and preserved shall be identified in the field and on a plan, a copy of which shall be submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The 6-foot-tall fence planned along the westerly property line area behind buildings 2, 3, 4, and 5, which angles at the northerly and southerly ends, shall be installed prior to the issuance of a building permit for the residential dwellings. The fence segments at the easterly lot line in front of buildings 1 and 6 may be installed at a later time to provide for construction access, and shall be installed prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy for the last unit. Neither the easterly fence nor proximate landscaping shall impede site distance. All fencing shall be maintained in perpetuity by the 26, 30, 36, and 40 Crooked Meadow Road Homeowners Association. The designated inspection engineer shall review compliance with the above landscaping plan and any approved modifications.
Everyone's fine with all that language?
Yeah, so I just have one question.
Sure.
And it's about dead plants being removed within 2 years. Is that, I mean, it's a long period of time. Is that customary?
Typically, you can continue, consider revising that, but I think the problem comes in whenever the plants go in, and then you've got, say, a winter season or something. So you just want to make sure that they're established, so that if somebody, and, typically those are insured as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one thing at the end of the paragraph that starts with 6-foot-tall fence. At the end where it says being maintained in perpetuity by the 40 Crooked Meadow Road Homeowners Associations or their successors.
Okay, everyone's fine with that?
Yes.
And everyone's fine with the time frame?
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
21, a landscape architect shall certify that the landscaping has been placed in accordance with the approved plan prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy for the final unit.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
22, the proposed landscape berm at the street line shall be sited completely on the premises and not within the town's road layout. The berm shall be constructed such that no stormwater is shed onto Crooked Meadow Road.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
23, dark sky compliant lighting shall be provided at dwelling doorways in addition to a single pole light per unit at the driveway. Spotlights are prohibited.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 24,
Any opposed?
24, the fire hydrant shall be sited between buildings 2 and 3, as delineated on the plan signed by Mel Trott of the Fire Department, dated February 3rd, 2020.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None?
25, construction shall be in accordance with all requirements of town engineering, including the town's 2019 soil erosion and sediment control standards conditions. All uncontaminated stormwater runoff shall be directed to recharge within the premises. No increase in stormwater runoff from the site is allowed. The applicant shall submit a plan to engineering for approval prior to applying for a building permit that shows spot grading along the property lines where the abutting property is lower than the premises, to show that all stormwater will be maintained on site as required by subsection 240-112, stormwater management. B, design requirements. Item 3, engineering sign-off is required prior to site disturbance and the issuance of any building permit for the project. Inspections referenced in the soil erosion and sediment control standard conditions shall be performed by the designated inspection engineer. Erosion and sediment control shall be maintained in good conditions at all times. Failure to maintain adequate erosion and sediment control on site will be grounds for stopping all construction activities on site until the issue is addressed.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
26, dry wells shall be constructed in accordance with the plans, and all roof areas shall be connected to the dry wells shown in the plan. Each homeowner shall be apprised of said installation. Maintenance and preservation of dry wells shall be the responsibility of and included as common element in the homeowners association documents.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
27, the town is specifically not waiving fees associated with construction included but not limited to the water line, water tapping sleeve and valve, water meters, services and connections, and engineering, such as the bond for the street opening permit, a bond for the driveway permit, and building department fees. The plan involves the installation of one town-specified fire hydrant. Plan shall be submitted according to the specifications provided in the August 27, 2019 referral from Stephen Rafferty, Department of Public Works Water Superintendent. Each unit shall have a dedicated water service. The application has stated that this is a private driveway. As such, the driveway and water main shall be privately owned, and maintenance shall be the responsibility of the condominium owners. Any required utility easement shall be in a form and manner as prescribed by the town. Plans shall show location of septic components and water service. Plan shall state all standards, policies, construction practices, or rules and regulations of the Falmouth Water Department shall be adhered to throughout the duration of the project. As-built drawings shall be submitted to the water superintendent.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
28, the applicant shall meet with the Falmouth Police Department to determine when or if police details would be required. All police details required by the Falmouth Police Department or per the applicant's own choice shall be paid for by the applicant.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
29, any waiver not specifically granted herein is denied.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
30, the waiver from subdivision regulations, specifically bylaw 305-30, requirement for installation of sidewalks.
Just before you vote that, just so that you know, you have previously specified that you do want a sidewalk around the perimeter of the activity lawn. So where they've asked for a waiver from providing a sidewalk, just to advise you so that you consider that as you vote.
So could you put in language?
So
except as
if
provided
we're
above?
suggesting the
So
sidewalk,
you
we
would
would
either
deny this.
deny the waiver, or we could restate the, that language. It's up to you.
It's probably easier to deny the waiver.
Because I think where we have the specifications for the sidewalk, I think the only thing we want to make sure we don't have happen is that you waive a sidewalk here, and then you say you want a sidewalk within the decision.
So it might be best just to deny the waiver. How does everyone feel about that?
I'd be in favor of denying the waiver.
I'm in favor of denying.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, no,
I'm-
to-
I think we need to clean the
So
language of
We
this
need
up.
to add some
No,
language.
just-
Is denied.
Right, so you're.
Oh, so what
you're-
they're asking for a waiver, and with our vote, we would
Right.
vote to
So
deny
you're-
versus
You
approve.
voted 5-0
So we'd be voting to
to-
oppose it.
to oppose or deny. Okay.
Do that again.
Yeah, we'll do that again.
So 30, the waiver from subdivision regulations, specifically bylaw 305-30, requirement for installation of sidewalks.
All those in favor? Seeing none, any opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
31, the waiver from subdivision regulations, specifically bylaw 305-40, requirement for street trees to be planted on both sides of right-of-way at a maximum 40-foot intervals.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None.
32, the waiver from bylaw 240-19A, where only one single-family home is allowed per lot.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
33, waiver from bylaw 240-119D1, regarding street trees be planted no further than 30 feet apart.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
34, the waiver from bylaw 240-71 to 72.6, requiring compliance with the water resource protection districts.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
35, any deviation, no matter how minor, from plans submitted and approved shall be submitted to the zoning board of appeals for approval prior to the implementation of said change. The zoning administrator may make a determination as to whether the changes are minor in nature and can be approved administratively, or whether they will require a public hearing for an amendment. Changes made prior to an approval may be subject to a full hearing, and are at risk that the ZBA may deny the request, subjecting any unapproved construction be ordered undone.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
36, the applicant is required to provide, 1, regulatory agreement and declaration of restricted covenants for ownership project, and 2, an affordable housing deed rider specifying that affordable units shall remain affordable in perpetuity, and 3, a declaration of trust for homeowners association, and 4, condominium documents, master deed, and rules and regulations. These collective documents shall be provided to the zoning board of appeals for approval by town council prior to the issuance of any building permit, and subsequently recorded at the registry of deeds in Barnstable. A recorded copy shall be filed with the ZBA and the town's affordable housing designee. The applicant, as a limited dividend organization, is limited in its profits under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40B, and any excess profit shall be paid by the applicant and distributed as required by the subsidizing agency in accordance with the applicable law, regulations, and guidelines.
So I know we included James's language. I would just say, Registry of Deeds in Barnstable, just say Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, since we previously, that's its name, and we previously called it that in the document. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
37, the affordable unit homeowners will not be required to provide an advance payment of 3 months of condominium fees and shall only pay 1 month fee at a time. The developer must fund the first 3 months of condominium fees for the affordable units and may subsequently be reimbursed. The provision shall be carried into the condominium documents.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
38, the final lottery agent, lottery plan, and marketing plan shall be submitted to the zoning board of appeals and the affordable housing designee prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
39, prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall enter into a monitoring agreement to the approved by town council. All costs associated with the monitoring shall be borne by the applicant until the sale of the last affordable unit and thereafter by the sellers of the affordable units. A copy of all financial information by the monitoring agent shall be provided to the zoning board of appeals and the affordable housing designee after the initial round of sales.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
40, the comprehensive permit shall be a master permit which shall subsume all local permits and approvals normally issued by local boards, other than as specifically enumerated in a condition. The Board of Health and Conservation Commission are excluded from this provision.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
41, this comprehensive permit shall not be transferred without express written approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
All those in favor?
Aye.
42, each condition in this decision shall run with the land and shall, in accordance with its terms, be applicable to and binding on the applicant and the applicant's successors and assigns.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
43, prior to starting work under the comprehensive permit, the applicant, general contractor, and the designated inspection engineer shall hold a pre-construction meeting with the building commissioner, representative of the Department of Public Works, Engineering Division, zoning administrator, town planner, and Board of Health agent to review the requirements to ensure compliance with this decision.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
44, parking or storage of any unregistered vehicle on the premises is strictly prohibited. This shall be included in the condominium documents.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
45, this permit shall not take effect until a copy of the decision bearing the certification of the town clerk that 20 days has elapsed after the decision had been filed in the office of the town clerk with no appeal being filed, is recorded in the Barnstable Registry of Deeds, or that an appeal has been filed within such time. Any person exercising rights under a duly appealed comprehensive permit does so at risk that a court may reverse the permit and that any construction performed under the permit may be ordered undone by the court.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None.
46, this permit shall lapse 3 years from the date on which this decision is filed in the town clerk's office. If a substantial use of the comprehensive permit has not sooner commenced, except for good cause as determined by the zoning board of appeals.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None.
47, the zoning board of appeals reserves the right to recall the applicant with such notice as the board deems proper to discuss unresolved matters or concerns.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Okay, so we've voted on all of the conditions, and we'd have to make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve was made by Ed. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
Done
Unanimous.
deal.
All right, does it for that. Up next, we have a board vote to authorize a specific board member to sign interrogatories. So we've been advised by town council that we need to authorize one specific board member to sign on behalf of the board. And this interrogatory is in regard to
Solar Way.
Solar Way.
So would you like a motion that, to that effect for a particular person?
I would love that if.
Why don't we move that,
Pick a
that
person.
TJ, that you as chair, be the person to sign?
All right, so the
Second that.
motion was made by Ken and second by James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have a board vote to rule changes to the comprehensive permit. So Noreen circulated modifications to our comprehensive permit rules.
Right.
Most notably, it's regarding the account and engineering consultant work. Under 40B, we are allowed
Is
to.
that different?
Just
Got one. Thank you.
So under 40B, the board is allowed to retain specialized firms like engineering and architectural consultants to review the project prior to rendering a decision. And we've made some modification in the language specifically regarding the engineering peer review. So that'd be section 4, review fees, 401A, and then we have the previous language that's been dropped down to 401B. And that covers the other areas of technical advice like transportation, environmental, and design review. So has everyone had a chance to review this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense.
So this policy would go into effect for any future 40Bs that are filed with the town. The intent for this is that the town engineering has been doing a massive amount of work on reviews of engineering work that's submitted, and they have found that they're spending substantial amount of time that they can't afford to spend. So it was upon their request and advice with the DPW that the town start using this peer engineer review instead, and that they would just have an advisory role, so that they'll be providing a specific checklist for any particular development as to what work needs to be done, and that work would be provided by the peer engineer. The town has recently identified 4 firms that they've vetted to do these inspections. So the purpose of this language, albeit that it does need to get refined, is just to put it in your rules so that it is available to be used for future 40Bs that are filed. That being said, I know Mary's had some very good suggestions, and actually these particular rules date back to 2011. They do need to be updated. So I don't know if,
She's had more general, not just on the engineering, but on other aspects.
well, no, I think she was specifically looking at that, and while I agree that there are tweaks that we can or should make, my intent for tonight is to specifically just get this in here, and then to work on maybe the document as a whole, making it more properly organized and worded.
Barry?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. I was looking for some changes that would add a little more clarification in that section with the engineering. I do, however, have one somewhat, in my opinion, major thing that needs to be done before we vote. And that has to do with subparagraph D as in dog on page 6,
On page 6.
at the top of page 6.
So the current language says, to the extent possible, developers may be afforded the ability to select from possible firms which have been pre-vetted by town staff for the peer review, engineering review, and inspections.
Yeah, and I disagree with that. I think that what needs to be done is that somebody from the town makes the decision about who that engineering firm who's on the list should be. I think they should be selected in some kind of an order. If, for example, and this doesn't all have to be in there, I just think this has to say that it's not, we're not looking to the developer to be able to make that selection. It should be the town municipal employee doing that. And at any rate, they should be selected in some kind of an order. If the first one selected is somehow not available or unable to do the work, you'd move to the next one on the list. And then you would go through the list in that manner. And, you know, that was my only concern, is that should not be left to a developer to make that decision.
Tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
Noreen, is there
I think
anything in
so.
40B that prohibits that sort of thing?
So the
or-
rationale in part behind giving the developer, if possible, some option is that there is going to be concern and there's going to be discussion about cost. Because instead of town engineering doing all this work for free and subsidized by the town, the applicant is going to have to pay for a peer engineer to do the review. That being said, sometimes considered to be optimal to give them an option, say, between two firms, in which case they may say, is one firm more cost-effective for us than another, because they actually will be working closely with the peer engineer firm. And then the other kind of general point with what firm is utilized or not is some of these firms have particular areas of expertise, such as transportation. You know, if you have a larger development where you need somebody who's looking at traffic plans and that sort of thing. So some of these engineering firms have specialties, and if we have a case where there may be also a wetland issue, conservation wants to use the same peer review that we use, and they may want to have someone who's got a wetland background. So there may be some tweaks as far as the town determining which firm they would prefer. So I'm actually open to wording this language either way.
Well, I would
Yeah.
still weigh in on the fact that that decision on which of these, this is a review engineering firm,
Right.
which is essentially being hired to do what the town has the responsibility for doing. Therefore, it should be the town that determines
And the
which
town select.
which
Okay.
firm gets selected.
And my question on that is, because we're doing the comprehensive permits, and we're the authority, and we're usually the ones that actually name the peer review person, that we may be the one that has to do the actual selection, but have input by the town authority. I don't know if the engineer actually has the power to select, because they're not the permitting authority. I do agree in the same situation. I think all the peer reviews we've done in the past, we've never given a list to a developer and said, here's the people we're thinking about using, who would you like?
Okay.
In addition to this, I would like to consider, that on future 40Bs that we get architectural peer review for the projects.
Well, we can always request, I mean, I think we're going to be a little careful about not having blanket requirement to request peer review, because it could be argued that, you know, we're just doing this to make life difficult for 40B
So the,
developers.
yeah, so the only,
So in any particular development, we can always request that.
So the only reason I bring up the architectural review versus other ones is that when we attended the training at the Herman Room, the lecturer touched base on her position from being on boards and looking over the rules and regulations, and one of the only peer reviews that she was pretty strong that she would suggest that all projects review in the state, and that the DHCD shows favor in are the architectural peer reviews. And that's the only reason that I'd like to consider that at some point as an automatic, just like the engineering. you know, we asked questions about different peer reviews and which ones do you select at a time, and she stressed pretty hard that the one review that is seen as a basic review that you could put in general in the projects is an architectural peer review, because they look how it fits into the area.
Right, but you may also want to have some leeway with that, where if you've got a very small development, you may look at it and say, you know, that it works for you, and that if you find it's a larger development, or you feel like it's too dense, or it's something, that may be something that you want to choose on a case-by-case basis. I think with the engineering situation, what they're saying is, we just can't afford the time of this commitment anymore. And that, like I said, with architectural, with environmental, with any other things, you can always ask for that.
So in the future, in general, I think that's something we should at least consider on the architectural, only because, again, she stressed that it's the one peer review that is seen as positive by the state. And
I have
even
no
though,
prob- I have
yeah,
no
and even though
problem.
there's smaller projects, sometimes having an architecture review in the project also is good for the adjacent homeowners in the neighborhoods, because they know somebody's actually looking at, you know, what the projects are looking at as it integrates within their area. So it might be a win-win both ways.
All right.
So anyway, what I would propose for you is that we vote this with the amendment, as Mary pointed out, for D, to have the town select the engineering firm. And I would also say that this would not be me selecting the engineering firm. We're fortunate to have a very mature engineering staff here at town, and they seem to know all the peer reviewers, and they seem to be pretty adept at selecting who would be optimal for a particular project based on the parameters of that specific project. And then what I'd like to do is then work on revising your comprehensive plan requirements all together so that this reads better.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm thinking for that one thing that we might put in here, I don't know if you think it's appropriate to go in here or not, but procedural rules, yeah. Is something also that codifies this strategy for voting individual conditions separately, and then the permit as a whole from the draft. You know, I think that's been a good improvement, and we have done that for larger 40Bs, but not always. So it might be nice to do it just always.
Okay.
All right.
So this would be a vote for now and a to be continued.
Sounds good. Would anyone
I
like?
got one other comment.
Yep.
On page 6, paragraph E, it says, "The selected peer engineers at the town and shall ensure that they are complying with the DPW engineering division rules," all et cetera. Also, we should add the state of Massachusetts, I think, because we got a problem now where the building commissioner said a building didn't need, it could be done the way they're doing it, and it's against the mass laws. Particularly the one where they put the second story on the building, it says minor.
So, and
complying with,
Massachusetts Building Code?
In the Mass State Building Code.
And put it in right after the DPW, in front of it, whatever.
And the Massachusetts Building
Right.
Code.
Sounds good. All right, so with those proposed changes, does anyone want to make a motion?
So I'd make a motion to accept those changes regarding the engineer peer review.
Second it.
Okay, motion was made by Bob and second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right. Board discussion. We had a little bit of board discussion about a comprehensive permit, but do we have anything else to chat about? Nope. All right. Board
Well, it's
updates.
Ashley's birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Ashley.
Happy birthday.
Oh,
In advance.
Valentine's Day, too.
All
Wanna
right.
trade birthdays?
Anything for future agenda items? Okay, seeing none, our next meeting is February 20th, 6:30 here at Town Hall.
Okay, wait, before you adjourn.
It fell, I didn't mean to.
I am going to be, I see the hearing list, and I will be absent from March 5th and 19th. My wife is dragging me to Australia.
And help put out the fires?
Yeah.
Mr.
So there
Chairman,
are two decisions on the 5th that I see I'm on.
as a reminder, I'm also away on the
I'll
5th.
be absent on the 5th as well.
So I think Mary's been on all the ones on 63-19. She's been on those, so she could fill in there. And
Yeah,
same, and same as Shore Street.
I was hoping not to be going on the 5th, but I was overruled.
That should be fine.
That continuation on March 5th, though,
Which one? Yeah, so the continuation on March 5th.
6319,
So 60-19, so Mary's been here for all those.
okay.
And, we don't know when Buzzards Bay will come up again, but
All right,
she's always been there for that.
all right, so
So that
we
leaves,
seem to be good.
you're okay.
We're okay.
But thank you for the advance notice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It is very appreciated.
well, I just found out about it this last week.
Ooh, surprise. Have fun. For both of you.
Send pictures.
Yeah.
All right, so next meeting is, what did I say, February 20th, 6:30 here at Town Hall. Meeting adjourned.